Welcome to DaAi Headlines. I'm Wendy Chen. Thank you for joining us. Coming up in today's show, in China, Tzu Chi volunteers in Liaoning province are holding their first tea gathering in Shenyang city to promote Tzu Chi. In our feature report on Jordan, we learn of the difficult living conditions the tens of thousands of Syrian refugees are facing. And in Taiwan, we meet a group of hardworking farmers who are committing themselves to grow organic soybeans at home. We kick off today's show in China, in Shenyang city of Liaoning province, where Tzu Chi volunteers held their first tea gathering for 500 entrepreneurs. After gaining a better understanding of Tzu Chi, these businessmen all vowed to incorporate the organization's humanitarian spirit into their companies.
500 entrepreneurs listen closely to Tzu Chi volunteers as they share the Tzu Chi spirit. This is the first tea gathering held at the city of Shenyang, China. Outside the venue, everyone is sharing their favorite Jingzi aphorism.
We need to inspire ourselves to have a compassionate heart and cultivate blessing by helping the needy.
We need to work harmoniously together with one heart and one mind. This is exactly what I believe.
On stage, Tzu Chi volunteers from Beijing, Changchun, and Dalian share their experiences with those in the audience. To express their thanks, the entrepreneurs prepared gifts for the volunteers. However, they were kindly rejected. Instead, a volunteer came up with a good idea.
I know what you can give me. You can give me 500 field volunteer forms.
Tzu Chi is a well-organized charity group.
Touched by the Tzu Chi spirit, many have decided to incorporate Tzu Chi's humanity into their companies.
I felt the compassionate heart of Master Zheng Yan, and I am truly impressed by the things she has done.
I vow to dedicate the rest of my life to influence 10,000 entrepreneurs and to turn 10,000 companies into cultivation grounds. This can influence millions of people and families.
In spite of the class coming to an end, these entrepreneurs all promise to encourage more people to walk on the Tzu Chi path.
Staying in China, in Hubei's Wuhan, Tzu Chi volunteers held their first year-end blessing ceremony, in which over 400 local residents took part. Volunteers worked hard to put on a perfect sign language performance in hopes of inspiring participants to join Tzu Chi.
As volunteers welcomed the participants, Tzu Chi unveiled its first ever year-end blessing ceremony held here in Wuhan. Although they have been in China for more than 20 years, Tzu Chi volunteers have not carried out Tzu Chi's missions here in Wuhan until recently. Thanks to the dedication of the local volunteers, the sutra performance at this year's blessing ceremony was carried out primarily by locals.
Over the past year, thanks to the company of Tzu Chi volunteers, I have been able to grow up without worries. I'm really grateful. In the future, I will do my best to take part in Tzu Chi's events.
With the number of certified volunteers in Wuhan still low, everyone is more than willing to share their experiences in doing volunteer work in order to inspire more to walk the Tzu Chi path.
He used to be a chauvinistic husband. At home, he would order me to do this and that, and even worse, he was really picky. But after joining Tzu Chi last year, I have seen how he has changed.
Being a volunteer is not about what I've done for Tzu Chi, but how Tzu Chi has brought me happiness and wisdom.
On behalf of Master Zheng Yan, Tzu Chi volunteers hand out blessing and wisdom red envelopes to the participants, and together everyone prays for a world free from disasters.
As Chinese New Year is just days away, Tzu Chi volunteers in Pingdong, Taiwan invited mentally challenged students to put on a drumming performance at their reunion banquet. Meanwhile, in China, Tzu Chi volunteers in Siming district of Xiamen organized their first ever reunion banquet for their care recipients.
Welcoming care recipients upon their arrival, volunteers have been busy preparing for the reunion. Apart from providing free haircuts and medical checkups, volunteers also show participants how to carry out recycling. As this is the first time the volunteers of Siming District are hosting a reunion banquet, the volunteers' warm and inviting gestures fills the air with the joyous atmosphere of the new year. City volunteers care for us a lot and are kind to us. We're so touched. Master, it's now the new year. Thank you, Master. Happy New Year.
What I have learned at Tzu is something which cannot be learned in classrooms. Tzu's great love has given me motivation to strive harder, so when I grow up, I can also have the ability to give in return.
With gifts from the volunteers in hand, the recipients return home with plentiful blessings to embrace the new year ahead. Here at Tzu's reunion banquet in Pingdong, Taiwan, apart from the festive atmosphere in the air, what catches the participants' eyes is this group on stage. It takes them longer to learn and they are quick to forget, so we have to practice repeatedly. At times, after many rounds of practice, it gets a bit frustrating, so I always remind myself to cool off. It is the fourth year that these students with mental disabilities have come to perform at Tzu's reunion banquet. Also present at this year and previous year's reunion banquets is Cai Yongqing.
There are some new dishes which I came up with. We hope that these dishes will encourage care recipients to gradually take on vegetarianism.
With over 20 years of experience in event catering, at each annual reunion banquet celebration, Cai Yongqing always prepares dishes with a heart of gratitude and a touch of creativity. His skills coupled with his ingenuity warms the hearts of all participants.
Syria is the only country in the Middle East without a debt problem. The nation enjoys an advanced farming industry and the residents there are widely educated. But as civil war continues, it has robbed everyone of their wealth, land, pride and even lives. As residents are fleeing to nearby countries to seek temporary shelter, we look at the difficulties faced by these refugees in Jordan.
If they could choose how to live their lives, no one would pick to live in such conditions. Here in Jordan, at the UNHCR Za'atari refugee camp, Syrian refugees are giving a second chance at life in an unfamiliar land. A small area of 7 square kilometers holds about 36,000 Syrian refugees.
These are the United Nations tents here at Za'atari refugee camp for Syrian refugees. As you can see inside, besides blankets and mattresses provided by the UN, there's not much else. Most refugees were not able to flee with anything besides the clothes on their backs.
Like other refugees, this tent's owner does not wish to show his face, as any media exposure can be used as clues to help the Assad regime hunt him down.
Yes, my leg. I'm here because my leg is injured.
Sarif lives in this prefabricated housing provided by the Saudi Arabia. The temporary shelter is better at keeping out the cold than the tents at the Za'atari refugee camp. However, with only 2,000 slots available, only early refugees or those suffering from major injuries were allotted housing shelter. As Sarif fits into the latter group, he has access to the better housing. However, he worries about making ends meet.
There is no job opportunities here. I can only leave everything up to Allah.
The seeds of hatred have crept into the hearts of these survivors. At the camp, the majority of residents are female and children. The husbands and fathers of these women and children are still in battle in Syria. Whether dead or alive, no one knows for sure. While gathered around the medical tents are the wounded males.
Every day I see about 130 patients. Most of them are children. Around 47% are children and 28% are adult males.
Moroccan Military Field Hospital is one of the first NGO to establish a medical tent at the Za'atari refugee camp. Its staff are also the best equipped. This green tent is the patient ward and surgical room. There, doctors can conduct an average of 2 cesareans a day.
We see every day about 40 to 50 patients. We are the only dentists in the whole camp. I'm here for humanitarian work, so I'm pleased to do it.
Those refugees who went through legal channels to arrive in Jordan receive UN care, food, and shelter, though some feel that they are trapped inside the camps. While those who escaped to Jordan illegally are scattered everywhere. And although they have what some camp refugees see as freedom, they possess little else.
My house has been destroyed. I was a doctor in my own country, but now I'm a refugee. I need help like the other refugees, but I work to provide daily necessities for my family.
Despite Shaham Jolan being a wealthy man in his own country, he now makes ends meet by working at a vendor shop near the Jordanian border. He looks forward to the day when it is all over and he can go home.
Of course, I want the Free Syrian Army to win, as then it means the country will be returned to the people. When we win, I will return immediately to my own country. Even if I'm living in a tent there, I will still return.
The symbol of freedom hangs high, and it holds hope for refugees that Syrian opposition will win over the Assad regime and return the land to the people. However, there are countless lives still struggling to survive on the front lines. This seems to be the high price of freedom.
On a lighter note, many teachings in Taiwan are seizing their winter breaks to travel to Hualien to take part in volunteer work at the Hualien Tzu Chi Hospital. In addition to helping on the hospital grounds, some teachings also accompanied volunteers on home visitations, where they learned a valuable life lesson.
Care recipient Ms. Shen was left bedridden after a car accident, and her mother is ill. Thus, neither can do much to clean up their home. To help, volunteers and Tzu arrived to give the family's apartment a deep cleaning.
This is to help the family enjoy the new year and also to let these Tzu appreciate the hard work their mothers put into handling all the housework. In that way, I hope they can be more considerate once they return home. Today also shows them that having a healthy body is so important.
These Tzu who are here during their winter break to care for the less fortunate carefully clean every part of the apartment, including the windows.
I am thankful to have the opportunity to bring these Tzu brothers and sisters here and to work with everyone in cleaning this house. Every time we go out with Su Zhu, we learn so much because she is so committed to working with us and getting us to realize how blessed we really are.
Although what has been done today are simple household chores, but for the young who rarely do such chores, it was not only a chance to give, but also to feel the gratitude for the hard work of their own mothers.
Much of the food consumed by Taiwanese, such as soy milk, tofu, and dried bean curd, are all made from soybeans. However, most of the soybeans used today are imported from abroad and are genetically modified. Despite the high cost involved to produce locally grown soybeans, providing healthy foods that are free of toxins is a commitment that Taiwan's organic farmers have taken to heart. Let's take a look.
To see each soybean pop out from its pod can be said to be Zheng Guoqi's happiest moment. After 6 months of hard work, harvest time has finally come.
We planted these beans in September last year, but Hualien experienced a lot of heavy rain during that time, so the soybeans didn't grow that well.
Furthermore, exposure to continuous rainfall can infect the soybeans with a fungal plant pathogen. Although harmless to the human body when consumed, the purple appearance on the soybeans makes it less appealing to consumers. However, Zhen is not so easily defeated. His persistence in applying organic and toxin-free farming methods comes from his love of the land.
I was born and raised here, so you come to love and become attached to this land. I don't ask for wealth or status. So long as I can coexist with this land, that is enough for me.
Faced with these infected soybeans, Zhen Guoqi would rather spend twice the amount of time and manpower to select the ones with the best appearance and quality for eventual sale to consumers. His biggest source of motivation comes from his mission to provide food which is not harmful to either the body or the land.
Growing organic crops, you will feel a sense of pride that what you planted or consumed poses no threat to human health.
We planted these soybeans ourselves. This is organic soy from Taiwan, and it's not genetically modified.
It is difficult to grow organic soybeans and harder to market them due to the high production costs. Thus, local farmers can't compete with the large amount of imported genetically modified soybeans. Hence, Ling Shuping, an organic farmer, came up with an idea.
This stone mill that you see here was left behind after the Japanese occupation of Taiwan ended. If I had to sell tofu made at the stone mill at $100 NT a block, most customers will feel it's too expensive. But I would think such a price was not high enough. So we came up with the idea to let the visitors have a go at making their own tofu instead.
Using the stone mill to make their own tofu, the process is completely transparent. Hence, concerns about chemical additives can also be put to rest.
When you bring the soybeans to a boil, they will foam up a lot. Most of the shops outside will add a defoamer in the soy milk to reduce the foam.
The DIY experience not only helps visitors gain more insight into organic soybean production, but also helps them to understand the sweat and tears behind the farmers' harvests. The choice lies in the hands of the consumers to opt for food products which are fresh and beneficial to the body, and in doing so, extend support to Taiwan's organic farmers as well.
Since Tzu Chi's establishment in Hainan, China, Guangzhou Tzu Chi volunteers have been working to promote recycling concepts to local communities, and thus brought a group of recycling volunteers to Taiwan last March to learn more about the organization's environmental work. After seeing how volunteers in Taiwan are giving selflessly to safeguard the planet, this group of recycling volunteers from China was inspired to do the same upon returning home. Prior to the closing of the shopping mall, volunteer Huang Peihua is walking through every store to pick up recyclables. Despite the crowd, Huang is quick at her work.
After we came back to Hainan from Taiwan, I saw this recycling work. I love collecting recyclables, and the more I collect, the happier I am. I go collect them between 5 and 6:30 p.m. when the shops are closing. There will be many recyclables to pick up.
In the eyes of Huang Peihua, the bags of garbage are all treasures. Apart from committing herself to recycling work, she also asks friends to join her as well. The volunteer even turned her old house on the 5th floor into a recycling point.
I asked the store owners to gather their unwanted plastic bags, and I will come collect them at 5 p.m. every day. There are normally around 5 or 6 bags of recyclables, and I will carry them to the 5th floor. The more I do each day, the healthier I become.
With an outgoing personality, Huang is always able to call on a group of volunteers each week to help sort the recyclables into categories. And they even managed to collect garbage from 2 recycling points in one day. Here at Feng Shuzhen's home, despite being 78 years of age, she feels younger at heart after joining the recycling work.
Doing recycling work is just wonderful. When people see me, they say that I look younger than before. When you have no worries, your heart will stay young. The master said that we are not too old and we are just at the beginning of our lives. I want to seize every moment to give.
It is with that determination that this group of Hainan volunteers has been giving selflessly over the past year to overcome all obstacles to safeguard the planet.
In Hainan Island, or you can even say the whole of China, people don't have a strong concept of environmental protection. But our recycling volunteers are not giving up. Our leader was deeply moved, and he said they will collect all their newspapers for our bodhisattvas.
Hainan volunteers not only sort recyclables at home, but also promote environmental concepts in schools. As a result, more than 1,000 teachers and students at the Jingshan Kindergarten have joined their recycling efforts.
有瓶子和小纸箱，在我们小花园里面捡到的。
那之后你都有做什么处理啊？
都把它们洗干净，来学校献爱心。
你知道捡来这些东西要做什么用的吗？
要回收。
啊，回收可以做什么呢？
回收可以重新搞好，然后给那些需要帮助的人。
那你做得开心吗？
开心。
At first, we used stickers to lure the children into sorting recyclables. After a while, when we had been doing it for a month or 2, we realized it had become a habit for them. When they go out for a walk with their parents and see bottles on the side of the road, they will pick them up right away.
All of our recycling volunteers are very frugal and down to earth. They are gathering compassion and spreading the ideals of conservation work to every community in Hainan.
In Taiwan, as residents around the island are getting ready for the coming Chinese New Year this weekend, city volunteers in Taipei's Zhongshan district have set aside their busy schedules to help solitary senior Annan clean his home. We'll leave you with these images. Thank you for tuning in. Goodbye.